Hello, Happy Valley. Today's video is all about working with graphite pencils. So have you ever looked at a regular classroom pencil and maybe you noticed on it that says a number 2 or an HB on it? Well, this is a drawing pencil and it too also has an HB. So there are some similarities in the two types, and then there's some not so similarities, like this one doesn't have an eraser. All right, so what we're going to do today is explore these graphite pencils and learn a little bit about them. So what you need for this assignment is a minimum of 4 drawing pencils, and if you picked up an art kit from me, you will have 4 drawing pencils in your art kit. Others of you might have your own, and that's great. So you just need to have a minimum of 4 drawing pencils, some white paper, and an eraser. Let's get started. So before we get started, you're going to need some drawing pencils, a minimum of 4 drawing pencils. And if you picked up an art kit, you have 4 drawing pencils in that kit. You'll also need an eraser because these pencils don't come with erasers. And then you're going to need your little fingers, okay, and a piece of white paper. So what I have on this screen, these are Prismacolor drawing pencils. And Prismacolor is a premium quality. It is what you would call a professional or artist grade quality. If you picked up an art kit, you would have a student grade quality. Not saying that there's anything really big or different about the two, just this is going to be a much, a higher quality, a much smoother lead than what is placed in your bags. But whenever you look at drawing pencils, they're a little bit different than a regular standard classroom pencil or regular pencil. Obviously, the color is different, but what points out or what stands out most to me is that these have erasers when these don't. So I'm often asked by students why these drawing pencils don't have erasers, and the reason is because drawing, we are doing a lot of drawing. We are doing a lot of editing, so we do a lot of erasing. And it's just not practical to have these tiny little erasers on here, because what happens to our pencils? They start to look like this. And then over time, they end up looking like this. There's no more eraser on there, and it's an ugly little thing. Okay, so when you work with drafting or drawing or anything art related that you're going to be using these pencils with, you usually have a separate eraser. You'll also notice on the pencils that they have letters or numbers on them. What the H stands for is hardness. What the B pencil stands for is boldness. The number is just the fluctuation from on that hierarchy. So the higher the number on the H pencil, the harder the lead will become. The higher the number on the B pencil, the softer and bolder the lead will become. So what I want us to do today is kind of practice with these. I've already had you answer some questions or give your educational guess on them. So now we're just going to kind of practice with them. So pick out 4 to 5 pencils, or if you just have 4, that's fine. Just pick out different ones. Get some H's, get some B's. There's even sometimes an HB. It's up to you. But I've got a 2B. Here's a 6H. Here's a regular B pencil. And I'll do the HB. And what I want you to do with the 4 pencils that you have is I want you to kind of test them out. It doesn't matter what order you choose them in. I'm going to try to keep mine in order from H, from the highest number of H down to the highest number of B. So my first one I have is the 6H. I would like you to write what type of pencil you have. So mine is the 6H. And then I want you to write, I'm going to zoom in for a minute. Once you've told me what pencil it is, I want you to then practice writing your name with it. You can write your full name, you could write your last name, you could write just your first name. It's up to you. And then next to that, I want you to just give me a good colored in area, a little section. And I want you to do another one. This first one I want you to try and smudge it with your finger. Now, when you're working with artwork, and you shouldn't really use your finger. It's actually kind of bad or informal to use your finger when you're drawing because your fingers actually release oils onto the paper and they can compromise your artworks. But a lot of us do it, and heck, I do it. A lot of the times what is suggested to use is a tortillon or a blending stump, something like this. And this is simply just rolled up piece of paper. So you could even make one of those little footballs and make your own tortillon. A blending stump is basically paper pulp that has been compressed. Those are a little bit harder to make, but there are tutorials on YouTube and things like that that show you how to make a blending stump. So the first one I wanted you to try was just trying to smudge it around. And then the second one, I'd like you to take your eraser and try to erase it. Now, if it erases completely, it erases completely. Okay, I can still kind of see an indication of where it is. Maybe not so great on the screen, but I can. Let's try the next one. So my next one that I have is an HB. HB. Write your name. You can sign it if you want to. Color in a section. Color in a second section. This first one, try to smudge it. Second one, erase it. So now when you look on the screen, you can still kind of see that. I didn't put a lot of pressure into it. I bet if I really tried, I could pull that up. I just wanted to see you erase it or attempt to erase it. All right, my next is going to be a B pencil. Color in a section for smudging. Color in a section for erasing. Smudge the first one. Erase the second one. And my last pencil is a 2B. Color in a section for smudging, a section for erasing. Smudge the first. Erase the second. Now the point of this exercise is to get to know these leads a little bit. And you can sort of see it on the screen. I can see it much better on my paper. But if you look up here, the H pencils, they are a much lighter lead, a thinner lead. Look at the way that my name was written up here compared to the way it's written down here with the B pencils. Okay. An H pencil stands for hardness. And what they're best for is for sketching, getting your idea onto the paper. They are so much easier to erase fully. They are harder to smudge, to move around. They're not meant for shading, okay? They're meant for getting your idea onto the paper, and they're easily erased. So if there's mistakes, as you're getting your ideas onto the paper, you can easily erase an H pencil. Again, not ideal for shading or smudging in little areas. Yes, you can move it around. Our purpose for an H pencil is primarily for sketching. An HB, if you look at a regular number 2 pencil, you will sometimes see that it says HB. Okay, and what this is saying is that a number 2 pencil is the type of pencil that you use on tests that you have to fill in all the little bubbles. Remember, they like a number 2. A number 2 is that medium grade pencil. It's right in the middle, and that's why it gets the H in the B. It's part hardness, part boldness. It's right dead center in the middle. Sometimes you'll see a pencil that says F. I believe I have one. Yes. So sometimes you'll see a F. That stands for fine, or sometimes it just means like that middle grade pencil. So HB, fine, they're really right around the same. Your fancier sets will have F pencils. Majority of your drawing sets will, your drawing sets will have H, HB, B pencils, but nothing more than that. Then your B pencils, those are your boldness, okay, or blackness. So these pencils are a harder lead, a softer lead, and they create a darker mark. They are ideal for shading, especially when you're trying to get into these darker areas. So the higher up that number becomes, like a 6B, is going to be one of your darkest leads. Now, I've been asked how high do the numbers go, and to be honest with you, I don't know. I think roughly maybe around an 8 is the highest I've ever seen, but those are rarities. Now, the darkest lead that you can have is called an ebony. An ebony pencil is considered jet black. They are extra smooth. They are wonderful pencils, especially for getting in those dark values. So this is an ebony. And you can see already just how thick that lead is, how soft that lead is, how big of a mark that lead makes. Of course, this one has been dulled. It needs to be sharpened. It's a much larger pencil, even in diameter, if you look at it comparatively to a regular pencil. Look at the size of the lead inside of there. Here, this is probably a bitter. Look at the size of that lead comparatively to the size of this lead, of the regular drawing pencil. So an ebony pencil is fantastic for getting in those really dark values, but this is not a pencil that you really want to try and erase. Now, I'm putting about a medium pressure right here where these marks are. Again, this is a hot press paper, so it's not going to smudge as well as it would on like a standard drawing paper. But this is not ideal for erasing. Those marks are really not going anywhere. And you can, the more you erase, you are actually disturbing the fibers of the paper. So if you ever erased so much that you've ripped the paper, what happens is you've kind of torn those fibers apart. And so they're going to just, once that happens, you're not going to be able to mend it or save it at that point. So if the more erasing you do, you're just going to continue to ruin it. But anyway, that is a brief introduction to working with drawing pencils. So if you're ever sketching, you'd like to use an H pencil. Those are going to be your lighter marks. They're also going to give you a better point because the lead is much harder. As you get towards your B pencils, those are great for shading, and those are the types of pencils that you want to use for that purpose. They have a much softer lead, so they're going to make a much wider and darker mark.